In this video, we are going to understand the various types of environments. Okay, so what are all the various types of environments available, which we are going to understand now. So first of all, before I explain you the different types of environments or environments, what are those? You need to understand what exactly an environment means. For example, if I ask you to book a ticket from one of the website, let us say I am going to book a ticket on this website, TSRTC booking, bus booking. Then I will go to the website and then there I will have an option to go to e-ticket login and then log in with my user ID and password and then I can book the ticket, or else I can directly go to the website homepage, and from here let us say I wanted to book a ticket from Hyderabad to Bangalore, and then on what date I wanted to book the ticket, 17th, and check availability, so that I will be able to book the tickets. So if you look at whatever the activities I am doing here, so this is called where the end user is going to use this application. So this application is called web application. Okay, so this application we call it as web application, which means it can be accessed through internet, and anywhere from the world you can access this application. Okay, so you just need to know what is the website URL for this application. So what is URL stands for? Uniform Resource Locator. That is URL. So if at all you wanted to access another website to do Amazon booking, the website is amazon.in. IN stands for India. So now you will be able to do the activities. For example, you wanted to buy some TV 32 inches, select this and then search. So now you see whatever you are able to see here in this application, or this application, we call this entire part as presentation layer, that is PL, where user or client uses that. Okay, so where client is able to perform some operations, that we call it as presentation layer. Okay, and now if you look at, when I try to click on this RTC site and I have received certain buses information with the number of seats available, and then also I see the price of these tickets also. If I wanted to modify the search, I will again go back and then check for today's date, and then I will click on search button. Now what is happening? Window seats are 5 and total number of seats are 7, and what is the cost and what time we have, all those things we are able to see when you perform the operations. That means whatever the activities you are doing, so that we call it as client is operating from the application. That part we call it as front end part of the application, front end portion of the application, where user is able to view the application and understand what are all the activities they can perform, what is the screen is all about, and what is exactly they can do on this particular screen. If at all you wanted to cancel the ticket, they have to go by looking at this cancel tickets option by providing the respective ticket number and the UID number and the mobile number what they have given. So like this, there will be various options you will be able to see, and if you see this also, you got certain information on this site also. So now you will get a question where you are getting this information from. That means they have, for example, if you are maintaining one shop, okay, I wanted to sell in that shop, I wanted to sell cars. Let me say I have Tata cars, Hyundai cars, and all of them are with me. So I know how many Tata cars are with me, and I know how many Hyundai cars are with me. I will maintain a record for all these cars which I am having, which I have. I will maintain all the number of cars. So if somebody comes in, I will open this record. Either I may write it in a notes, or I may write it in an Excel, or wherever you wanted to write the count, you will write, and you will tell. If somebody comes to you, then you will tell the number. Similarly, whenever you are trying to fetch the information from this application, there should be some support for this application. That portion we call it as a database layer. So when I say database layer, so this database layer will consist of the information what is required for the application. So when I say database, so the database is the storage place. So as soon as you complete your items, you will update this database with the new records. Same as like your cars. Once you complete your all your sell, once you sell all your cars, you will update the records. For example, your total cars are 40. Let's say you have sold 15, and out of which how many are Hyundai and how many are Tata left, you are going to update, so that you will be able to fetch this information if somebody asks you to give that. So that means you need to have, for any application, there should be a presentation layer and there should be a database layer. And also you need to have, so on what basis you are getting this information? If you look at here, you are searching the query for, let's say I go to home and then I try to city Hyderabad to Bangalore. So if you see here, when I search on this particular thing, how are you getting this information? See, there are certain activities which are happening at the back end, and that we call it as business logic layer. Business logic layer, where we call it as the backend program. Whatever they have performed, based on the backend program, it will go and hit the corresponding logic and then fetch the information and provides you to the front end. So when I say front end, this is called front end application. Whatever the data you're retrieving from, that we call it as database layer. The logic they will be writing, which they use the language to do that. It could be Java, or it could be Python, or it could be .NET, like whatever the language they wanted to use. You can say that that is the back end of this particular application. So now you understand, an environment is a combination of three layers: presentation layer plus business logic layer plus database layer. So these three will be there, must be there in any of the applications. So now you understand what is front end development. Front end development means where user is able to view the screens and understand what is that each screen is going to do. So this application, whatever they develop for this particular language, they use certain things. We will discuss those things later, but for time being, you just understand. So the user able to see something and do some activities, that particular screens, we call it as front end application. And business logic layer backend, where they need to have certain programming language: Java, Python, .NET, C Sharp, and JavaScript. There are so many. So you can just have Java as an example for just time being to understand this application. And now there is certain database also required. There are various databases available: MySQL database, SQL Server, MongoDB. Like that, there are so many databases are available. Also Arkle, so on. There are so many databases also available. We will discuss all these things in a detailed manner later. For time being, you just need to understand what is presentation layer, what is business logic layer, and what is database layer. So based on these, the environments have been classified into four types. One is stand-alone environment. Stand-alone environment. So this also can be called as one tier architecture. We will see one by one. And the next one is client server environment. And the next one is web environment. And the last one is distributed environment. And this can be called as two-tier architecture, client server. Web can be called as three-tier architecture, and distributed architecture can be called as not four-tier, it is n-tier architecture. That means so many number of tiers may be there in the environment. So now if you see the first and foremost standalone environment, how these three layers are sit together in that application. First, let me show you the standalone environment. When I say, there will be only one tier where your presentation layer will be there, and your business logic layer will be there, and your database layer also will reside in the same tier. So that means all the three things resides in the same place. So that kind of applications we call it as standalone environment or your desktop applications. Let's say if you take an example of calculator application, see this application, you are able to do some operations on this application, and you are able to do the logic here itself, and then you are retrieving that data from here itself, like 9 into 5. If you see, the calculation will happen and the data also will provide you the output here itself. So it is nowhere talking to any other applications. And also if you look at your mobile devices also, whatever the operations you do on your mobiles, desktop applications, all those desktop applications, mobiles, tablets. So when I say mobiles and tablets, don't talk about the internet what you use on the mobiles. I'm just talking about what is there inside the application, not with internet. You just need to check your mobile features like camera, whether it is working fine or not, your data which is there in the mobile, whether that is working fine or not. And calculator application, you can simply say, and MS Office, you will have MS Access database also can also be called. For example, if you are storing some information in Excel, and this you can access only in the system. Let's say you have certain data written here and you are making use of that only in the system. That kind of applications we call it as desktop your standalone applications. So similarly, you might see VLC media player, which will play videos on your system, and also any softwares you install on your computer and make use of that only in that system. We call those kind of applications are standalone applications. So because of this standalone applications limited usage, what happened, the next environment has come into picture, that is client server environment. When I say client server environment, so in this you are going to have, let me open one more. The client server environment has two more tiers. So this is first tier and this is second tier. So in this, you will be having your client on first tier and your server on the second tier. So what is going to happen? So in the client server environment, presentation layer and database layer will be together, and your database layer will reside in the next tier. So now what is happening, whenever customer does any operation from the front end, it will go and talk to the database layer, and then that information will be sent back to the presentation layer. So with what it will go, it will go based on the business logic whatever they are talking about. So let me make it very simple with a diagram. So let's say if you look at client server environment, let's say I'm going to take this example. So here is a client. Okay, for time being, just look at this diagram. So don't look at as internet. I'm going to make use of two words here, internet and intranet. So we will see one by one. Okay, so when I say in this diagram, just replace this diagram. Okay, let me take this and try to modify. In this diagram, if you take this as an example and I will put it as intranet. Okay, I'll make intranet connectivity and then I'll remove this. So now what I'm going to do is, there is a client and there is a server. There is a client and there is a server. So now what is going to happen, if you request some information to this particular server, it will go and talk to the database and provide the information back to you. So hope you all know how the intercom phones work. Okay, intercom phones. When I say intercom phones, so these are like in an apartment, there are 100 flats available and there is a watchman or control room where they will have a phone where which is intra-connected with all the flats. So you no need to pay money for that usage. So there will be a intra network which is established, intra network which is established. So to talk to those members, you simply dial 1 or you simply dial 9 or some numbers will be provided for each flat. Based on that you will be able to do it. So similarly, hotel rooms, when you say hotel rooms also, you will have phones in each room. Whatever you booked, you can directly call to the reception by giving the number or reception number. Let us say 9, you can simply press 9, it will go to reception. If you wanted to call room number 101, 101, like that they will arrange. So here they are not going to have those many number of connections required. So they just have only one connection, which is with the intranet cable. Intranet will within the work within the premises. Within the premises only it will work. It will not work with other places. That means if you're trying to do it outside, then it won't work. So to give you another example, let us say you are in a grocery shop. Let's say you have a grocery shop. This grocery shop is, let's say I am giving the grocery shop name as, let's say, Vijeta. So assume these people are have certain branches, 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4, and this is their central office. Okay, assume this is their central office. Now what I am going to do is, so they have established connection between these offices, and also every office will have an interaction with the central office as well. So now this central office will act as a server and all the other offices will act as a client. So when I say that, for example, you have gone to this shop. Okay, let's say you have gone to this shop and you want one item to be purchased from this store. At that time, when they search in their application, which is like this front end but which is not a web application, which is they only installed in their system, and that is accessible from other applications also. Here what is they going to do? So they will be having let us say you want a quantity of 100 items from this particular shop. Let's say you want some chairs which is cost of 100. So now what happens, so this particular shop does not have 100 items, then they will try to see from the application which is intra connected means that is not accessible through over internet. It is only accessible in these Vijeta stores only. So he will get in which store he has more number of items or the required number of items in his screen, and then they will ask the customer to go to that particular store and then get that information. So the same example you can take for any of the websites which are having intra connectivity. Hope you are clear on what is client server environment. Client and server. Server means your database will reside on that particular place, and based upon your request it will provide the response based on the logic whatever they have written. That is all about your client and server mechanism. And as I told you, this is only internal and it is working only within the organization only. Now what I am going to do is to best example to say the best example for internet. You all know all our web applications that is with three-tier architecture. When I say internet applications which is three-tier architecture, let's say this is your first tier and this is your second tier and this is your three tier. Along with these three tiers you will be having one more thing called web server. Okay, so web server also will be there. You need to understand this very clearly because most of the applications we test are web applications and some of them are desktop applications as well, client server applications also. And web server, now the presentation layer will consist of this in the first tier, and the business logic layer will reside in the next tier, and the last one it will have the database layer. Now what is going to happen? First, if the customer requests something, first it need to understand what is the business logic he is asking for, and based on that it will go to the request will go to the web server, and then it will go to the database layer, and then the database layer will provide the information back to the web server. From there the information will be given to the presentation layer. So this is very very important, guys. So you need to understand how your web environment works. So let us say if you look at this diagram, so there is you can access the application from desktops, tablets or mobiles or whatever you wanted to do. For example, just now I have opened this Amazon website or TSRTC website from my laptop. Once I give a request, what happened? The request went through a web server. Forget about all the other names. That request will go through the web server, and then it will go and talk to the database and give the information back and present it to the presentation layer. So that is how you will be able to see this information on the web environment. This is very very important. You need to understand how our web environment works. And finally, for this, you already know all the web applications whatever you see on the internet, those are examples for your web applications. Amazon.co.in, Amazon.com, and any kind of applications whatever your TSRTC, all those are web applications. And finally you have one more environment, that is distributed environment. So distributed environment you will be, so now if you look at this and this, hope you got the difference between why we are using web and why we are using client server. So if it is intra, we are going with client server. If it is internet, we are going with web environment. So every innovation will comes with a existing problem. Okay, so once you come up with a problem, to resolve that problem we will come up with an idea. So that you have to remember. Now in the final one, distributed environment, also you will have the presentation layer and you will have the database layer. So now you will be having your web server. These are common standard. Okay, your web server is there and your presentation layer is there and your database layer is also there, and there will be n number of business logic layers will be there. I'll tell you why. Okay, so first of all you have one business logic layer, and second you will have another business layer. Like that I'm just giving more than two or three business logic layers. Okay, so what is this, all those things we will see now. So business logic layer 1, and also this is 2 and this is 3. So these are the three business logic layers we have business logic layer 3. You can have a number of business logic layers. Now what happens, before I tell you this, I need to explain you one more concept. That is, for example, you might know when you are trying for your exam results, there is a unique site. Okay, so results site which will provide you the information about 10th and intermediate and M.Sc and then your degree, PG, whatever. Okay, IIT, JEE mains, like that. Whatever the exams, they wanted to provide everything in this application. Only one website which will provide all categories of these exams results. At that time, what they have to do? They have to provide their hall ticket number, and then assume they have to provide their mobile number also if required. If the application need both, you will provide both. If they need only one, they will provide only one. So what you frequently hear, you will hear that the server is down. That means you are not able to open the website because there are so many people at a time they are using the application. That's the reason you are not able to open the application. Now what we are going to do is, we will be looking to this application, and whenever the user requests for 10th results, it will go from the business logic, and whenever degree or PG this, and whenever they want business logic layer 3, that is IIT exams. So if you separate the logic, then the load will be less on the server, and then it will go to the web server and then provide the information to the database layer with the request. The response will come back and then provide you back to the presentation layer. So this is how your distributed environment will work. So if you look at simple, let's take an example of a cinema theater, a movie theater. If you're taking any movie theater example, let me take an example of movie theater. Let's say you have only one place where you are allowing all the people with the tickets from 350 rupees ticket and 250 rupees ticket and 100 rupees ticket. So if you are allowing all the people only from this particular entrance, then the traffic will be huge. Okay, so at that time there will be a block here, and that's the reason if you make, for example, 100 rupees people needs to go from this entrance and 250 rupees from this entrance and 50 rupees 350 rupees people from this entrance, then obviously the traffic will be routed with different routes. That is what we are doing in the distributed environment. So that is what, based on the logic they are providing, that is how you will be able to understand how your web distributed environment works. So if you look at, for all the places, presentation layer and database layer are common. That means your two tiers are common, that is client and server are common. The number of business logic layers will increase. In this particular environment, the total number of tiers are 2 plus 3, that is total 5 tiers are required to complete this distributed environment.